talk about the president's beat. Jesus Christ, y'all haven't seen me with the braces off. I'm struggling a little bit. I've been struggling since I got them off. The retainers just fucking everything up. So I'm trying. I'm trying.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Look, I appreciate it. You know, it's like 20 months past due since they told me I was supposed to get off, but you know what? I'm out. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna keep it pushing, right? All right. In the spirit of that engagement, I want to address a name that has emerged amongst our fan base, Warriors. One might look at this name as a natural and even harmless transition, considering that it does not necessarily or specifically carry a negative connotation. But as we learn through our research and engagement with various groups, context matters, and that makes it a slippery slope. Feedback from across communities we engage clearly revealed deep-seated discomfort around Warriors, with the clear acknowledgement that it too closely aligns with Native American themes. Such an embrace of potentially Native adjacent iconography, he has big words, and imagery would not represent a clear departure that many communities have so forcefully advocated for us to embrace, and that, frankly, we set out to do when we started this process a year ago. Again, Jason Wright via the president's brief. What's going on? What's going on, T? I appreciate you tuning in. Second, you know, if you got any questions, you want to comment, you know what I'm saying? I told you you always welcome to join the discussion. So fellas, that's Jason Wright on the recent thing, the Warriors. Warriors crossed off the list. Now we talked about this a few times, Dre, AJ. We're not that we have opinions on the names, but we're not in a sense that pressed to talk about it this far out because we know how the process is going to go. But an update is an update. And we know that Warriors is officially crossed off. Fellas, it's open discussion here. How about this? Why the hell did we not think, or did we think that Warriors be even considered? And the reason why I say that is, and I'm gonna talk about it from my perspective, and I'll give you all the floor, right? It never dawned on me that Warriors, like, because I figured that could have been one, up until he said that they did the research and it determined that it wasn't. Like, this entire time, it made sense that Warriors had ties to Native Americans. And if they weren't necessarily, if they were trying to do away from that side completely, I'm not necessarily mad at the fact that they crossed that off. Something that was actually, it wasn't the majority, but it was popular amongst the fan base. Just general thoughts on what Jason Wright said, but then also at the same time, what are y'all thoughts on? We talked about this before the show started. What are y'all thoughts on the fan base going up in arms as we see over the fact that Warriors is no longer part of the final list?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, the name shit don't really matter. I feel like as long as you keep the color scheme and the team wins, that's all that matters. Well, at least for me, you know, like at the end of the day, they were called the Redskins for how long? We barely been making the playoffs, been doing anything to really cheer about. I just feel like some people just are too attached to certain things and don't know how to maneuver with change and understand the process that they're going through. You know, it's not many franchises that have that type of legacy and history that have had to change their name, what 70-something years later? I don't even know how long it's really been. But, I mean, I just think fans need to relax. They'll probably know about it before next year. I think I tweeted something along those lines where, like, the Patent and Trademark Office, they got put in all that paperwork. People are looking at the filings every day to see if Washington's applying for whatever. You'll probably know what the team name is probably by October. I mean, at the end of the day, just win games. That's all that matters. I think the team should be called the Washington Bonquisha. It don't even matter. If they win they in the damn playoffs, they compete for a Super Bowl, people ain't going to give two shits about what the name is.
I only thing I'm interested in is seeing how the announcers are going to try and pronounce Bonquisha at that point. I want to see how they fumble that. All right. Yeah, where y'all at with it, Jerrell and Jay? It don't, like I said, it don't matter who go first.
For me, like I said, when you see them talk about the Warriors and stuff like that, that was a fan-driven thing because a lot of fans just couldn't get past the attachment of the Redskin name, so they were trying to think of anything to kind of relate to that without seeming so offensive. But the whole point of changing the name was to get away from those connotations. So I don't think it was ever seriously considered once they decided to go that route. And for me as a fan, like AJ said, it just I don't really care much about the whole process. I mean, when we get a name, it's like cool, I'll embrace it, whatever. But like I lost that attachment to Redskins long ago, even though it was what it was. But it's for me, it goes back to high school. This was some years ago. We had a Native American speaker come in and talk to our class, and Redskins was one of the topics. And he was like, he was speaking this piece and stuff like that. And me being an ignorant high schooler, I'm like a junior at the time. I'm like, hey, it's saluting you all and this, that, and the third. And he tells me, he said, well, how would you like to be called the Washington Niggers? And I was like, damn, like he really hit me with some stuff right there. And I was like, so ever since then, I was like, man, you know what? Whatever happens with this name, whatever. I mean, I'm a root for him, but no attachment. So once it was like official, I was like past it. But that's why I said you can't go to anything like Warriors, Braves. You can't do any of that now because you have to get away from that. Like people will say, well, what about the Golden State Warriors? But the Golden State Warriors, that's where they talk about the context. Like the context matters. Warriors doesn't have an Indian connotation to it, but Washington's history has. So anything relating to that, they're going to always come back to in context. So, yeah, people just have to get over it, man, and just be patient, enjoy the process. We're going to get behind whatever the name is. Like I said earlier, people keep saying, oh, this name's corny, this name sucks. But every name, someone's going to think of something. How stupid is Green Bay Packers? But none of us care because it's tradition. Like, the San Francisco 49ers, that's a stupid name, but no one cares. I mean, because that's what we're used to.
Around.
So after a while, people are going to that's what I'm saying. People will get used to it after, it's going to be the outrage and the people are going to settle into reality. So people just have to be patient, let it play out, and it is what it is.
Jerrell, where you at with it, boss?
I mean, I pretty much said everything that needed to be said. I agree. I mean, Warriors has the lineage of our history, whether we were originally the Braves and then the Redskins. So I understood that sense. And again, long as our colorway stays the same, which they've already said, and we win games, we don't really care. Like, I mean, if you talking football names, the Cleveland Browns, like that's a horrible name, bro. Like people, they were like cracking jokes on us. I'm like, what's a Carolina Panther? Like what's like is the Panther the state animal? No, so why are you the Panthers? Like it's same thing. And then I'll never forget when the Supersonics moved to Oklahoma City and became the Thunder, and we was like clowning them like the Thunder? Really? That's your name? Then they get KD, Russ, and Harden, and they make the finals, and it's like, yo, they tough. And we don't even slander the name anymore.
No more.
We only slander it until you win. Like, we slandered the Pelicans, then they get Anthony Davis or whatever. It's like, oh, they all right. They got Zion, they cool. So at the end of the day, we win. I've said this, and this is another topic, I guess. If we win as the football team, that should just be our name. I know it won't because we're processing it. But if we win a bowl, which is, far, I'm not saying we will win. We win a bowl this year, I don't know why we change it.
That stumped the shit out of me. Cause it's like you in the process of making all these changes. You're in the process of what AJ said, going through the legal process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then working on your branding, and then working on like the final tail bits of what you're gonna do, like especially like communicating with the league, like what you're gonna do with everything that you collected over this year, and you win the Super Bowl as watching football team, and then you change your name. That's interesting, I would say. And me personally, I think well, actually, let me actually go to T, because she mentioned, she's talking about the fans, and I agree. She said they're going to be mad regardless of the name. They're bored and have something to be mad about something. It is. I don't care what it is. I mean, it is what it is. That's true, right? And as far as the name in itself, I kind of, like I said, I'm in the same boat, man. it doesn't matter until you start winning. 7-9, it doesn't really accomplish anything for anybody, right? Like that's just 1 year in a bad division. But then we're talking about a team where everybody except for Philly, sorry, Sleezo, but everybody except for Philly is clearly upgraded in whatever respect. Dallas got their quarterback back. Then you have the defensive side upgrading in coaching. We don't know where it's going to take them in terms of like just actually seeing what it looks like on the field. But you get rid of Nolan, who was ass, and he was terrible before he even joined Dallas. And then you got the Giants, who has continued to build pieces like guy head coach. I forgot his name, but he seems stable. But we don't know like what it's going to do with Daniel Jones. But they do have the weapons there on the offensive side of the ball, and we'll see what that defense looks like. Washington, for obvious reasons, we've upgraded in certain areas and key pieces. And there's 3 different teams that's going to be competing. And when you're talking about trying to start anew, a lot of things matter, but the most important thing that matters is looking good in this process. You can't just be out here. Matter of fact, who was it? I think it was Charlotte. The Hornets back when they were changing their situation. Or the Bobcats and now the Hornets. They were terrible. I think when they were in the process of changing their name and nobody really cared. Nobody really cared about that.
Yeah,
and
the Bobcats.
Yeah, and nobody really cared about what they were doing, and obviously they don't have, comparatively speaking, they don't have the same history as Washington. So they kind of, it is what it is. But at the same time, like when you're in the midst of something this significant that means so much to people, you got fans fighting on Twitter about a name. Shout out to you all, you know what I'm saying? If y'all tune in, if y'all watch, if y'all listen, you know what I'm saying? You know who you are. Y'all just need to talk to each other, work that shit out. Stop talking on Twitter. Let it go. Talk on a fucking phone.
So toxic, dog.
It's over a name that's not even our name yet, or that's not going to be the name. But yeah, like it's all come down to wins, man. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't care what the name is. Just don't let it be Red Wolves. Don't let it be Warthogs. Don't let it have any hogs in it. I don't want that shit, bro. It's corny, and I pray to God that the people making decisions understand how corny it is. All right. I mean, I guess we're done. We can transition.